and click on New. Select the name of our virtual machine. What shall it be? Let's call it Red Hat. You see it says type Linux. Okay, so it recognized that by default. And it also said that the version Red Hat 64-bit. Make sure that you select the proper version for yourself, either 32-bit or 64-bit, depending on what you have downloaded and depending on what your system supports. So please be aware of that. Don't make that mistake. Anyway, it's 64-bit for me, so go ahead and click on Next. I would recommend giving it around, I'm going to give it around 1.2 gigs of RAM. Okay, so I know that on the net, the information exists, and this is really true, that Linux systems can run on 56 megabytes of RAM. So 56 megabytes of RAM is actually doable on a Linux system. You can actually run it, which is hilarious. I know, right? 56 megabytes, but that's not really a recommended thing. Depending on what you're going to do, that is the amount of RAM that you're going to require. But if you have RAM to spare, I would recommend giving it 1.2 for smooth operations. However, you can also give it 750 megabytes, and you can even go down to, I think, 250 megabytes, but you shouldn't really go lower than 750 if you don't absolutely need to, primarily because you might experience some lag. Let's put it so. It's gonna work. It's gonna work, that's for sure. It's gonna function, but you might experience some lag during your operations. But anyway, assign either 1.2 gigs or whatever else you can spare that is below 1.2 gigs for this purpose. However, as I said, I will show three separate methods of how you can do this, how you can actually run Red Hat parallel to your Windows machine. You can choose either three of them, see what works out for you. If you see one and if you perform that setup and if you like it, you can just take a look at the other two so you can see what else is possible, but you don't necessarily need to do all three of them. Anyway, so it's 1.2. Let's see if we can aim it a little bit better. 1.23. Okay, so let's go next. Create a virtual hard drive now. Create VDI, hard drive file type. Okay, next, dynamically allocated, next. And now we need to provide storage. Okay, this is getting a little bit annoying, so I'm going to move it out of the way. But, okay, so there we go. Here I have my temperature gadget. I like to keep an eye on that as well, primarily because you've seen the load on my CPU and all of that. It's a good idea to keep an eye on these things. Anyway, let's just assign it around, I'm gonna give it 32 gigabytes of space on my hard drive, and that's gonna be, well, acceptable, but you can assign it whatever you can spare. I mean, okay, so maybe I can give it 128 gigabytes, but that's not really gonna make a difference. I'm just doing it to show you basically what you can do. I have a lot of space here. I can use I can use a lot. Anyway, go ahead and click on create, but if you don't have, assign whatever you can spare. 32 gigs would be very nice. Anyway, now you need to go ahead and right click, settings, system, oh sorry, not system, storage. You have controller IDE, and down below it says empty. Go ahead and click on empty. In the upper right corner you have choose virtual CD DVD disk or a physical drive. So you can actually insert a CD, a pre-burned CD into your machine and then use that one, but why bother when you have an ISO image ready standing by? So just click on choose a virtual CD drive, and it doesn't matter on what system you are. Again, you will be prompted with a file manager here, file browser, and then you will be able to navigate to the folder where you have downloaded your Red Hat from your Red Hat Linux distribution from the website. So here I have downloaded mine. Here it's DVD1. Okay, so open. It's selected there. I click OK, And then from here, I'm gonna actually perform the installation, but I'm running a little bit short on time, so I'm gonna call the tutorial here and show you the continue showing you the installation process in part 2. Welcome back, everybody. Let's just go ahead and start the installation procedure itself. So just go ahead and double click on your Red Hat icon or your Red Hat machine that you have created. There we go. We get prompted immediately. Just go ahead and select install Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Press enter and there we go. The installation should start shortly. Don't worry about this failure. It should begin loading soon. Hopefully. I'm not going to be forced to eat my own words. Please, I'm begging you. There we go. It's working out, so it's relatively slow, but oh well. There's a lot to load. Anyway, keynote here. The screen will be small until we actually finish the installation itself. It will get a bit bigger during the installation process itself, but there we go. But until we actually install VirtualBox Guest Editions, we're not going to have the functionality of a full screen mode. I will show you how to do this, of course, and the process is not different whether you are doing this on Windows, Linux, or Mac. You are doing exactly the same things. Also, if you are installing CentOS, again, little or no difference. Some trivial, insignificant things that you probably won't even notice are there. You're not going to have, for example, this red Red Hat icon in the upper left corner. Okay, so go ahead and select the language of your preference. Oh, by the way, since the guest editions are not yet installed, you're going to have to capture your devices. By that I mean your mouse and your keyboard, and you see you won't be able to escape the virtual machine box, and if you press right control, you will be able to escape it. When you press right control again, it will capture and you will be confined to the size of the screen. Anyway, go ahead and select your language preferences. Click on continue. I think that your keyboard should be set by default when you select the language preferences, and there we go. That is done. Go ahead and select the time zone that you wish. Just go ahead and click it to any place where you are at the moment, what you have selected. I'm just going to leave it as it is. That does not matter for me at the time, but for you it might, so make sure to correct it to the correct time zone if you wish to get accurate time. It says language is set, software selection. Okay, so let's go into software selection. Oops, sorry. And let's see what we are going to install. Now, what I have on my physical machine here is a KDE Plasma workspace, but I'm going to go ahead and install GNOME Desktop here. Why, if you ask? Why do you ask? Well, I want to show you that there are different sorts of desktop here, and I can show you one type of desktop on my physical machine, and I can show you a different type of desktop on the Red Hat machine. Just so that you know that there are differences, and you will see that the differences are significant. Okay, so what do we want? We want internet applications, conferencing such. Sure, why not? A set of commonly used, sure, why not? Client for doing backup, clients for connecting to a backup server and doing backups. No, we do not need that at the moment. If we do, we can install it easily. Legacy X Windows system compatibility. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and select this as well, primarily because I might need it later on and I don't want to bother with dependencies, but generally you won't need it. Okay, so this is definitely a choice that you should take, Office Suite and Productivity. Smart card support, well, I don't know, if you need it, use it. If not, oh well. You can keep in mind that all of these things, including the desktops themselves, you can install and delete later on as you choose to after the installation. This is not a Windows operating system. You can actually delete the current desktop, delete the current graphical user interface, and install a new one that is more to your liking. Okay, so smart card compatibility libraries. Okay, this is not a bad idea. Integrating trust. Okay, yeah, there we go. Let's just go ahead and click on Plasma Workspace to see what is offered here. So you see you have perhaps, actually no, it's pretty much the same things. Sometimes in KDE you have a bit more things that they offer, but this is not the case here. Anyway, there are other desktop environments other than GNOME and KDE